Hi, this is PC Amateur Guy back for another exciting video due to popular demand. Looks like my videos are being watched, and I have 17 subscribers since posting a few days ago. So today I want to share my PC building tips. These tips, I don't think anyone's actually talking about them, so I want to be the first and share some tips that will help you build a PC um, for the first time. But this is going to be assuming that you have some background in PC building. It's not completely basic. But I want to show you some tips where you can actually probably build a computer or upgrade a computer within less than an hour. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here's my NX NX410 that I talked about in a previous video where my Mushroom S was a fail, and I decided to go with an ATX case to preserve most of the ATX. So the reason why I'm choosing this case in particular is because I find that a lot of you will probably go with a bigger case when you start. You're not going to do like an ITX case because ITX is more like for advanced builders. So that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about show this as the showcase to talk about my tips. So tip number one, probably see it here, is the power supply. So go with the name brand power supply if you can, like Corsair, Thermaltake, etc. Don't cheap out with AliExpress or something because you can destroy your whole computer if you do. And usually, how many watts you can base it on your GPU. So if your GPU says 500 watts or something minimum, then you can just that's how many watts you can get. But usually try to go with gold, silver, or bronze is fine. Even platinum if you can afford it. But my point I want to make is that more watts in this case is better. So that's tip number one. So if you find like a 850 watts and your system only needs 500, go for it. If you can find gold, it's $20 more. I would go for it because like you can save some like in case like you want to do an upgrade in the future. You have flexibility, right? So in case you upgrade to something that needs at least 850, at least your power supply is already there, right? In case you want to upgrade the GPU, so you want to do that as the first. I'm just gonna turn off my music there, and so yeah, so more is always better, and plus if you get like more watts, it's more efficient because there's always headroom for like spikes and stuff. So it's better for the computer. Um, I mean, you don't want to get like 200-watt power supply. Obviously, that's overkill. But if you like double the wattage is fine. Like up to 1,000 watts is fine for these kind of computers. Anything more than 1,000 watts, I think it's overkill in my honest opinion. Unless you're doing something like a 4090, like then more is better. So power supply, I always get more. If it's like 20 bucks more, 40 bucks more, it just makes sense to get more. More is better. If if you're on budget, then just get enough, and you don't plan on upgrading the GPU, then that's fine. Just get what you can. So I just want to point that out. That's tip number one. Tip number two, talking about fans. I mean, I have to give credit to Jay-Z's 2 cents, but if you're setting up the airflow, try to always try to get a balance airflow, meaning intake. So there's two 140s here, that's intake, and then there's 240s that exhaust. So that's going to be about, so air is going to come in and air is going to come out. So you want to keep that as neutral as possible, neutral airflow. I mean, there's an exhaust here. Don't worry about it. It's give or take. Just try to balance it out. This way it reduces dust as well. So you want to like do balance it, like intake and outtake, exhaust. I mean, so you don't want to do all exhaust because then it's not going to be good for dust and stuff. So just that's tip number two. So and not more fans is not necessarily better. Just enough fans is good. But if you're ever doing PC building, always leave the fans for last. Obviously, if the AO comes with fans, and you have to install it. But for any other fans, if it's not already there, don't worry about the fans because that's the last thing you should worry about, right? Because if your computer is not going to work, there's no point in having fans in there. So don't waste your time with that. So that's tip number two. Tip number 3, with RAM, sometimes people ask, and then JC also 2 cents mentioned this. 16 gig of RAM is good enough. If you can have 2 sticks, like 8 gigs each, is better, because if one RAM fails, you have another safety RAM that will help you. Make sure that they all install tightly, because if they don't, you're gonna have like your system's gonna crash, and a lot of times it's just very simple. As the RAM is not, even though it will read, if it's not like completely in, it will crash your PC. You can use it for like a minute or so, and then you crash, and then you're like, oh, what's wrong with my computer? So just keep in mind that the RAM, you should make sure that it's installed, and that could be just the only reason why your computer is like crashing. Okay, so that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, like NVMe. This is a 3.0, because this motherboard can only take a 3.0. But if your motherboard can support 5.0 or even just 4.0, you can always buy like 5.0, because it's always backward compatible. So I could have put a 4.0 in here and it would still work, even though this motherboard supports a 3.0. If the difference is like marginal, like 20-30 bucks, just always go for the 4.0. And obviously, if your computer supports it, always try to get the highest option there for you. But if you get a 5.0 and then your motherboard only supports 4.0, it just future proofs it if the difference is marginal. But reading and writing speed is very important, because when you're installing games, especially the write speed, you're gonna see a difference of like 3 hours versus like half an hour. For obviously your Wi-Fi will also be dependent, but like I just want to show you, like, you might have something like this lying around, like this hard drive, 3.5 inch. This is like a 2 terabyte. I don't recommend using this anymore. This is, I mean, we're in 2024 now, and if you use this, it's gonna take like 3 hours just to install a game, right? And it's not as efficient as well. So you pay more for electricity. It's not gonna be much, but it still adds up over time. So I don't recommend using this. I mean, you can probably add it in as an extra storage drive for pictures and stuff, but for gaming wise, you don't want to use this for gaming, even as a second drive, because it's really slow in installing games. And if you're building a PC for your son or something, or your daughter, come on, man. Why do you want to wait? Why do you want your son or daughter to be waiting for a game to install 3 hours when he or she can have that game in the system within 30 minutes, right? It also depends on your internet, of course, but that's why you don't want to do hard disk anymore. I don't recommend it. And also, when you start up the game, it's going to be a lot faster with an NVMe, and you don't have to worry about cables, any SATA cables that you need to connect. It's a lot cleaner for cable management. So you know what? I don't recommend using hard drives anymore. Just use SSDs, NVMe if you're doing gaming, or even if you're doing for like regular storage or whatever. It's so much faster when you're transferring files and stuff. And then when you're loading up games, it's just so much faster. Like my son, he's playing one of the games. It used to take him like two minutes to load a game. Now it's taking him 30 seconds, and he gets into the multiplayer games a lot faster. So he's not waiting, and his friends are waiting. So something to it's worth it to invest in the NVMe. So I just want to put that out there. And then the next tip I want to provide is when you're building a PC, and assuming you already built one, and you have an NVMe already, a drive that's already working, you can install that into your new PC, because you know that this NVMe is working already, right? So then that helps you with troubleshooting, and something you don't have to worry about, right? And also this screw here, make sure you don't screw this all the way in. Just once you screw it in, just make sure it should be perpendicular to this side of the screw here, because if you screw it more than perpendicular, or you screw it too tight, it's gonna cause a reading issue, and it's not gonna work. It's not gonna read. But the point is that if you use one that already has Windows in it and you load it up and it's not working, then it just means either the motherboard is dead or you just screwed it in too tightly. So it's always good to use one that's already has Windows, because that's one last troubleshooting thing you have to worry about. And another tip I want to provide is same thing with the graphics card. So if you have one that's already working, use that one first. And even if yeah, so then the graphics card is not the issue, because it could be the graphics card. But the last tip I want to provide to you is that if your CPU actually has integrated graphics, you should use, just when you're building a PC for the first time, just use the integrated graphics, and it's this basically. Let me just flip this around here. So your integrated graphics is always means your motherboard here, which is this is your motherboard faceplate. So you just have to plug it into the HDMI slot onto this motherboard. Okay, and then you'll be able to connect it to the integrated graphics, and then it's not your and if it works, then it's fine. It's also good for troubleshooting if you need to change the riser cable setup, etc. But and if it only costs us $50 more, I suggest you basically do go ahead and pay the $50 more. The reason why is because in the future, if you decide to like upgrade or get a new PC, you can just give the PC away and then take your expensive graphics card for the new build, right? So let's say you have a 4090 or 3090 and you want to use it for your next build. You can just take that, and then your old computer is still useful because the integrated graphics, you can basically give that to a grandfather, grandmother, a friend, give it to your someone that just wants to browse YouTube and and just do regular browsing. Integrated graphics is good enough. You only need a dedicated graphics card for gaming, so you don't even need a graphics card. You can make a computer with completely integrated graphics. And then there's the new 8000 series of Ryzen came out released recently, like 8700G. Those have integrated graphics, and their integrated graphics is like almost equivalent to like a 1050 Ti. So even then, you can use that to play esports games and stuff. So that's another tip. It's definitely worth the extra $50 because in the future, if you decide to upgrade and you can give this computer away and just take your graphics card away. Those are the tips I wanted to share today. I don't think anyone's really well. There are people talking about it, but maybe it's not really talked about. And that includes my video. And thanks for watching my video. Again, I'm the PC amateur guy, and I just want to share these tips with you because I think it would be helpful for you, and I hope it helps. Leave a comment in the bottom if it's something you experienced or any of these tips helped you out. Please do, and love to hear your comments on what you think about this video. And subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up or thumbs down, and I will continue making these videos for you guys because I just want to share like I'm just the average Joe here, and I want to share what the issues that I run into. So I hope that helps you. And again, thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you in the next one.